You!
I happen to be frying the dinner.
That's a big deal.
Wherever Jack went, the camera went. So I thought, I can't run behind him and follow him all over this little kitchen. So I would stand perfectly still.
For decades, America loved watching Ralph and Alice Kramden argue, make up, and navigate their cramped Brooklyn apartment on The Honeymooners. The chemistry between Jackie Gleason and Audrey Meadows seemed perfect. He was the loud, dreaming bus driver. She was the sharp-tongued but loving wife who kept him grounded. But what if that magical on-screen partnership hid a much darker reality? What if the woman who smiled graciously at award shows and interviews was carrying secrets that would shock fans? When Audrey Meadows finally broke her silence at age 73, her revelations changed everything people thought they knew about television's golden age. What drove a famously private actress to finally speak her truth after staying quiet for so long? Joshua's golden age illusion. The 1950s marked television's greatest era, when families gathered around tiny black and white screens to watch shows that would become American legends. The Honeymooners premiered as a sketch on The Jackie Gleason Show in 1951, eventually becoming its own series in 1955. During this golden age, television was still new and exciting, offering families affordable entertainment right in their living rooms. Jackie Gleason had already established himself as a major star through his variety show, earning the nickname The Great One for his larger-than-life personality and undeniable talent. He could sing, dance, act, and command an audience like few others. When The Honeymooners became a standalone series, it captured something special: the struggles and dreams of working-class Americans in post-war Brooklyn. The show's setting was deliberately modest. Ralph and Alice lived in a tiny apartment with minimal furniture, reflecting the reality of many American families trying to make ends meet. Ralph drove a bus for the Gotham Bus Company, while Alice managed their household and often worked part-time jobs to help with expenses. Their neighbors, Ed and Trixie Norton, lived upstairs in similarly cramped quarters. What made the show revolutionary was its honest portrayal of marriage. Unlike other sitcoms of the era that showed perfect families with perfect problems, The Honeymooners depicted real marital tensions. Ralph and Alice argued about money, dreams, and daily frustrations. Their fights felt authentic because they were rooted in genuine working-class concerns: unpaid bills, broken appliances, and the constant struggle to improve their situation. Television critics of the time praised the show's realism and emotional depth. The writing tackled serious subjects like financial stress, career disappointment, and marital strain while still maintaining its comedic core. Audiences connected with characters who faced the same challenges they did in their own lives. Behind the cameras, CBS executives knew they had something special. The network invested heavily in promoting the show, understanding that Gleason's star power combined with quality writing could create television gold. They were right. The Honeymooners quickly became one of the most watched shows on television, drawing millions of viewers every Saturday night. The cast chemistry seemed effortless to viewers at home. Jackie Gleason's Ralph was bombastic and scheming, always chasing get-rich-quick dreams that inevitably failed. Audrey Meadows' Alice was his perfect counterpart, practical, witty, and eternally patient with her husband's wild schemes. Their verbal sparring matches became the show's signature, with Alice's cutting comebacks balancing Ralph's over-the-top outbursts. What audiences didn't realize was how carefully constructed this dynamic actually was. Every line was scripted, every reaction planned, and every moment of seeming spontaneity was actually the result of meticulous preparation. The magic they saw on screen was real, but the relationship behind it was far more complex than anyone imagined. The real Jackie Gleason. While America saw Jackie Gleason as the lovable, if loud, Ralph Kramden, those who worked with him knew a very different man. Born Herbert John Gleason in Brooklyn in 1916, He had clawed his way up from poverty through sheer talent and determination. His father abandoned the family when Jackie was young, leaving his mother May to raise him alone during the Great Depression. This early abandonment shaped Gleason's personality in ways that would affect everyone around him for the rest of his life. Gleason's rise to fame was meteoric, but came with a price. He had developed a reputation in the entertainment industry as someone who demanded absolute control over his projects. Unlike many performers who were content to show up and deliver their lines, Gleason insisted on having input into every aspect of production, from writing to directing to casting decisions. This need for control extended to his personal relationships with cast members. Several actors who worked with Gleason over the years described him as charming and generous when things went his way, but explosive and vindictive when challenged. His mood swings were legendary among New York television circles, and many seasoned performers refused to work with him after just one bad experience. The entertainment industry of the 1950s operated very differently than today. There were no human resources departments, no workplace protection policies, and no formal channels for complaints about difficult working conditions. Stars like Gleason wielded enormous power, and network executives rarely intervened in on-set conflicts as long as the ratings remained high. Gleason's personal habits also created tension on set. He was known for his heavy drinking, often starting with beer for breakfast and continuing throughout the day. While this didn't always affect his performances, he was a consummate professional when cameras rolled. It made him unpredictable during rehearsals and between takes. Cast and crew members never knew whether they would encounter the jovial, joke-telling Jackie or the angry, confrontational version. His approach to rehearsals was particularly challenging for other actors. Gleason preferred minimal rehearsal time, believing that over-preparation would make performances feel stale. This meant that other cast members had to be ready to adapt quickly to his choices, often learning new blocking or dialogue changes just minutes before filming began. The power dynamics on the Honeymooners set reflected the broader entertainment industry hierarchy of the time. Gleason was not just the star, he was also the executive producer, which gave him unprecedented authority over every aspect of the production. This meant that disagreeing with him wasn't just challenging a co-star, it was essentially challenging the boss. Women in the entertainment industry faced additional challenges during this era. Female performers were expected to be accommodating, professional, and pleasant at all times. Speaking out about difficult working conditions or demanding better treatment was often seen as being difficult or unprofessional, labels that could effectively end a career. For Audrey Meadows, navigating this environment required exceptional skill and patience. She had to deliver sharp, often cutting lines as Alice while maintaining a working relationship with a man whose behavior off-camera was frequently problematic. The irony was striking. She played a character known for speaking her mind and standing up to her husband, while in real life she had to bite her tongue and endure treatment that Alice Kramden never would have tolerated. As the show's success grew and the stakes got higher, Audrey would discover just how challenging it could be to work alongside television's most unpredictable star. Audrey's silent struggle. Audrey Meadows came to the Honeymooners with impressive credentials and a strong sense of professionalism that would serve her well in the years ahead. Born Audrey Six Cotter in 1922 in Wuchang, China, to American missionary parents, she had experienced discipline and structure from an early age. Her family moved back to the United States when she was young, and she grew up in New York City, where she developed her love for acting and performance. Before joining the Honeymooners, Audrey had already established herself as a capable actress in both theater and early television. She had appeared in numerous live television dramas, which were the training ground for many actors of her generation. This experience taught her to think quickly, adapt to changing circumstances, and maintain her composure under pressure, skills that would prove invaluable when working with Jackie Gleason. When Audrey first auditioned for the role of Alice Kramden, she faced an immediate challenge. Gleason took one look at her and declared that she was too attractive and refined to play a working-class Brooklyn housewife. Most actresses might have been discouraged, but Audrey was determined to prove him wrong. She went home, put on an old house dress, messed up her hair, and had photographs taken that showed her looking appropriately worn down by life's struggles. The strategy worked, and she got the part. But this early interaction established a pattern that would continue throughout their working relationship. Gleason expected everyone around him to adapt to his vision and preferences, regardless of their own professional opinions or personal comfort. Once filming began, Audrey quickly learned the unwritten rules of working with Gleason. He demanded punctuality from everyone else while frequently arriving late himself. He expected other actors to be fully prepared while he often changed lines or blocking at the last minute. Most importantly, he required absolute deference to his authority, both as the star and as the executive producer. The emotional toll of this environment began to accumulate slowly. Audrey was a naturally organized and methodical person who preferred structure and clear communication. Working with someone whose moods and decisions were unpredictable created constant stress. She never knew from day to day whether she would encounter the charming, collaborative Jackie or the angry, demanding version. The supporting cast and crew members often looked to Audrey for stability when tensions on set became too high. As the only other major character in most scenes, she became an unofficial mediator, trying to keep productions running smoothly while managing her own frustrations. This additional emotional labor was never acknowledged or compensated, but it became an essential part of her job. Audrey's approach to handling these challenges revealed both her strength and the limitations placed on women in her position. She developed coping strategies that allowed her to maintain her professional standards while avoiding direct confrontations with Gleason. She would prepare extensively for every scene, memorizing not just her own lines, but everyone else's as well, so she could adapt quickly to any changes he might demand. She also learned to read his moods and adjust her behavior accordingly. On days when he seemed particularly volatile, she would keep her interactions brief and professional. When he was in a better mood, she might try to discuss concerns about upcoming scenes or suggest minor improvements to the script. The irony of her situation was not lost on Audrey. She was playing one of television's strongest, most outspoken female characters while being forced to remain silent about her own workplace experiences. Alice Kramden could tell Ralph exactly what she thought of his behavior, but Audrey Meadows had to smile and endure whatever Jackie Gleason dished out. When silence becomes survival. By the mid-1950s, the Honeymooners had become a cultural phenomenon, and the pressure on everyone involved had reached extraordinary levels. The show's success meant higher stakes, bigger audiences, and increased scrutiny from network executives, critics, and fans. For Audrey Meadows, this success also meant that her difficult working relationship with Jackie Gleason became even more important to hide from the public. The entertainment media of the 1950s was very different from today's celebrity coverage. Reporters and photographers generally respected the privacy of major stars and rarely dug deep into behind-the-scenes tensions. This meant that the public image of the Honeymooners cast remained largely untarnished, but it also meant that problems on set could fester without outside intervention. Audrey's coping mechanisms, which had served her well in the early days of the show, began to prove insufficient as the pressures mounted. The emotional exhaustion of constantly managing someone else's moods while delivering her own professional quality performance was taking a toll on her health and personal life. Friends and family members began to notice changes in her behavior and demeanor. The show's demanding schedule made everything worse. The Honeymooners was filmed live in front of a studio audience, which meant there were no second chances for mistakes or do-overs. Every performance had to be perfect the first time, creating enormous pressure on all the actors. For Audrey, This pressure was compounded by her need to remain alert and adaptable to whatever mood or decision Gleason might bring to each performance. During this period, several incidents occurred that pushed Audrey closer to her breaking point, though she would not discuss them publicly for decades. According to later accounts from crew members and other performers, there were days when Gleason's behavior became so disruptive that filming had to be postponed. On other occasions, his criticism of other cast members was so harsh that it reduced people to tears. Audrey developed what she later described as invisible armor, a psychological protective barrier that allowed her to function professionally while shielding her inner self from the worst of Gleason's behavior. This coping strategy worked in the short term, but required enormous emotional energy to maintain. She was essentially living two separate lives: the professional actress, who worked smoothly with her co-star, and the private person who was struggling to process the ongoing stress. The lack of support systems available to television performers in the 1950s meant that Audrey had few options for addressing her situation. There were no unions specifically designed to protect actors from abusive working conditions, no workplace counselors, and no formal channels for lodging complaints about star behavior. Speaking out publicly would likely have ended her career, while staying silent meant continuing to endure an increasingly difficult situation. Her personal relationships also suffered during this period. The emotional energy required to maintain her professional composure left little reserve for friends and family members. Several people close to her later mentioned that she seemed withdrawn and tired during the height of the Honeymooners' success, though she never explained why. The financial stakes also complicated her situation. The Honeymooners was providing Audrey with the best paycheck and highest profile role of her career. Walking away would mean giving up not just current income, but also future opportunities that might arise from her association with such a successful show. For a working actress in the 1950s, this kind of career opportunity might never come again. Despite these mounting pressures and personal costs, Audrey found ways to endure, though the price of her silence would follow her for decades to come. How tensions shaped television's future. The complex dynamics between Jackie Gleason and Audrey Meadows during the Honeymooners production had far-reaching consequences that extended well beyond their personal working relationship. These tensions, while hidden from the public at the time, influenced the show's creative direction, affected the broader television industry's understanding of workplace dynamics, and ultimately contributed to changes in how entertainment productions were managed and regulated. The psychological stress that Audrey experienced on set manifested in subtle ways that actually enhanced her performance, creating a layer of authentic tension that viewers could sense without understanding its source. Her Alice Kramden became more than just a scripted character. She was a woman genuinely trying to maintain her dignity and sanity while dealing with an unpredictable and often unreasonable partner. This real-world parallel gave her performance a depth and authenticity that purely fictional portrayals might have lacked, demonstrating how personal struggle can sometimes fuel artistic excellence even at great personal cost. The production team and network executives, while not fully aware of the extent of the interpersonal difficulties, began to recognize patterns in how star-driven shows operated and the potential risks of giving any single performer too much control over all aspects of a production. The Honeymooners experience became a case study in the entertainment industry about the importance of checks and balances, leading to gradual changes in how television shows were structured and managed. Other performers working in television during this era took notice of what was happening on the Honeymooners set, with many sharing similar experiences in private conversations that would not become public for decades. These quiet discussions among actors, writers, and crew members began to create an underground awareness of the need for better workplace protections and more professional standards in television production. The legacy of these tensions also influenced how future television partnerships were structured, with networks and producers becoming more conscious of the potential for conflicts between co-stars and the need for mediation systems to address problems before they affected production quality or cast morale. The show's enduring popularity, despite these behind-the-scenes challenges, proved that audiences could connect with authentic performances even when they were born from difficult circumstances. But it also raised questions about the acceptable cost of entertainment and whether the industry should tolerate problematic behavior from talented individuals simply because they delivered results that satisfied viewers and generated profits. After The Honeymooners ended its original run in 1956, Audrey Meadows faced a career transition that many actors experience when a hit show concludes. She had become so identified with Alice Kramden that finding other roles proved challenging. Casting directors and audiences struggled to see her as anyone other than Ralph's long-suffering wife, a common problem for actors who become too closely associated with iconic characters. During the late 1950s and 1960s, Audrey worked steadily, but never found another role that matched the cultural impact of The Honeymooners. She appeared in various television shows, including The Phil Silvers Show, and several dramatic anthologies that were popular during television's early years. She also returned to her theater roots, performing in stock productions and regional theater companies across the country. Throughout this period, interviews and public appearances always brought questions about her time working with Jackie Gleason. Entertainment reporters were fascinated by the chemistry between Ralph and Alice Kramden and wanted to know if the actors were friends in real life. Audrey developed a standard set of responses that praised Gleason's talent, while revealing nothing about the difficulties she had experienced. Her ability to deflect these questions while maintaining a positive public image demonstrated the media training and personal discipline that had served her throughout her career. She would smile warmly, share a harmless anecdote about filming, and redirect the conversation toward other topics. This strategy protected both her own reputation and the show's legacy, while keeping her private experiences safely hidden. The 1960s and 1970s brought significant changes to American society and the entertainment industry. The civil rights movement, women's liberation, and broader cultural shifts toward questioning authority began to change how people thought about workplace relationships and power dynamics. However, these changes came too late to affect Audrey's experience on The Honeymooners, and the cultural momentum hadn't yet reached the point where her story would be welcomed or understood. During these decades, Audrey witnessed other performers beginning to speak more openly about difficult working relationships and industry problems. Books and articles began appearing that revealed behind-the-scenes tensions on classic television shows and movies. However, she remained committed to maintaining her silence about her own experiences, partly out of loyalty to the show's fans and partly out of concern for her own professional reputation. The entertainment industry of this era still punished performers who were perceived as difficult or disloyal. Even as social attitudes were changing, speaking negatively about a beloved figure like Jackie Gleason could have serious career consequences. Audrey was aware of other actors who had suffered professionally after making public complaints about co-stars or working conditions. Her decision to remain silent was also influenced by her own personality and values. She had been raised to believe in discretion, professionalism, and avoiding public conflicts. The idea of airing personal grievances in the media went against her fundamental beliefs about how people should conduct themselves in public. As the years passed, and The Honeymooners grew into a beloved classic through syndication and reruns, Audrey found herself in an increasingly complex position. The show's popularity meant that she was regularly invited to participate in reunions, retrospectives, and tribute events. Each of these occasions required her to perform a version of herself that was consistently positive and nostalgic about her experiences. Rewriting television history. In the late 1990s, as Audrey Meadows approached her mid-70s, several factors converged to create the conditions for her eventual decision to speak more openly about her experiences with Jackie Gleason. The entertainment industry had changed dramatically since the 1950s, with much greater awareness of workplace harassment and abuse. Society as a whole had also become more receptive to hearing women's stories about their professional struggles. Audrey's decision to break her silence wasn't sudden or dramatic. Instead, it emerged gradually through a series of interviews, memoir excerpts, and private conversations with journalists who had gained her trust over the years. She was careful to frame her revelations not as attacks on Gleason's memory, but as honest reflections on her own experiences during a different era in television history. The first hints of her changing attitude appeared in interviews she gave for television retrospectives about the golden age of television. When asked about working with Gleason, her responses became more nuanced and less uniformly positive. She began to acknowledge that their working relationship had been challenging and that Gleason could be difficult to work with. These small admissions encouraged journalists to ask more probing questions, and Audrey gradually became more willing to provide honest answers. She spoke about the pressure she had felt to maintain a perfect public image while dealing with a complicated professional situation. She also discussed the toll that keeping silent had taken on her personally over the decades. One of the most significant revelations came when Audrey described Gleason's unpredictable behavior on set. She talked about never knowing what mood he would be in from day to day, and how this uncertainty had created a constant state of stress for everyone involved in the production. She was careful to balance these criticisms with acknowledgments of his talent and contribution to television history. Her comments about feeling emotionally isolated during the show's run were particularly poignant. She described working alongside someone every day while feeling like she barely knew him as a person. The professional relationship that had created such convincing on-screen chemistry was built on a foundation of tension and mutual wariness rather than friendship or collaboration. Audrey also revealed details about the power dynamics that had shaped her experience on the show. She talked about how Gleason's dual role as both star and executive producer had made it virtually impossible to challenge his decisions or behavior. This insight helped explain why she and other cast members had felt trapped in difficult situations with limited options for addressing problems. The response to these revelations was mixed, but generally supportive. Many fans of the Honeymooners expressed surprise at learning about the tensions behind the scenes, while others said the information helped them understand why the show's chemistry had felt so authentic and charged with energy. Other performers from the era began to share their own stories about working with difficult stars, creating a broader conversation about the hidden costs of television's golden age. Audrey's willingness to speak honestly about her experiences helped give permission to others who had similar stories but had been afraid to tell them. Industry historians and critics also praised Audrey's courage in providing a more complete picture of television history. Her first-hand accounts offered valuable insights into how the entertainment industry operated during its early decades and how power imbalances affected creative collaborations. Her revelations not only changed how people viewed the Honeymooners, but also contributed to broader conversations about workplace dynamics and the hidden stories of television's golden age. Audrey Meadows' decision to speak truthfully about her experiences with Jackie Gleason had implications that extended far beyond her personal story. Her revelations contributed to a broader re-examination of television's golden age and the human costs behind some of entertainment's most beloved productions. For fans of the Honeymooners, learning about the tensions between the show's two leads initially felt shocking and disappointing. Many viewers had imagined that the actors' on-screen chemistry reflected a genuine friendship and mutual respect. Discovering that their relationship was actually built on professional necessity rather than personal affection required a significant adjustment in how people understood the show. However, as fans processed this information, many found that it actually enhanced their appreciation for both performers' work. Knowing that Audrey Meadows had delivered her sharp, confident performances while dealing with a difficult working environment made her achievement seem even more impressive. Similarly, understanding that Jackie Gleason's explosive energy on screen was partly fueled by real tension gave new depth to his performances. Television historians and scholars embraced Audrey's revelations as important contributions to understanding how the entertainment industry operated during its formative years. Her first-hand accounts provided valuable insights into the power structures, working conditions, and personal relationships that shaped early television production. Her story also became part of a larger conversation about women's experiences in the entertainment industry. As more female performers began sharing their own stories about difficult working conditions and problematic behavior from male co-stars, Audrey's willingness to speak out was seen as helping to break down barriers that had kept these stories hidden for decades. The impact extended to contemporary television production as well. Industry professionals pointed to stories like Audrey's as examples of why modern workplace protections and support systems were necessary. Her experiences helped illustrate how talented performers could be trapped in difficult situations when proper safeguards didn't exist. Educational institutions studying television history began incorporating Audrey's perspective into their curricula, helping students understand that the entertainment they consumed was created by real people dealing with complex professional and personal challenges. This more complete picture of television history provided valuable context for understanding how the industry evolved over time. Jackie Gleason's legacy was also affected, though not destroyed, by these revelations. While some fans struggled to reconcile their image of the Great One with accounts of his difficult behavior, most came to understand that talented individuals can be complex and flawed. His contributions to television comedy remained significant, even as his personal conduct was acknowledged to have been problematic. The broader entertainment industry took notice of how Audrey's story was received and the conversations it generated. Her experience became a case study in how delayed truth-telling could contribute to historical understanding, while also providing closure for those who had suffered in silence. As Audrey's story became part of television's permanent record, it served as both a reminder of past challenges and a call for better treatment of performers in the future. Audrey Meadows waited over 40 years to tell her truth, but when she finally spoke, her words carried the weight of a lifetime's experience. Her revelations about Jackie Gleason didn't destroy the Honeymooners' legacy. Instead, they added layers of complexity and human reality to a story that had been told only in black and white. Her courage in sharing these difficult memories helped other performers find their voices and contributed to important conversations about workplace dynamics in the entertainment industry. What do you think about Audrey's decision to wait so long before speaking out? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below.